For a long time, Michigan's Iron Mountain has been a popular tourist destination. My dad and mom, Frank and Lorraine Morrison, were vacationing there on December 7th, 1941. And if that date sounds familiar to you, it's because it is the day that Japan um, uh, laid a crushing attack on our base at Pearl Harbor, catapulting us into World War II. Dad told me that when the news came over the radio that day, they immediately packed all their bags and headed home to Saginaw to be with family. They both knew what was coming, and there would not be any more vacations for a long while, if ever for some people, because the war was coming and many would die. Now, until recently, that was the only connection I had with Iron Mountain, but a few days back, a small collection of postal covers arrived that brought that memory of Dad and Mom back to me. Now, the cover, commonly called a used envelope, bears a 6-cent red airmail stamp, a little brain freeze there, with a round cancellation with wavy lines, and it reads Iron Mountain, Michigan, May 4th, 1942, 1:30 p.m. And rather than a fancy cachet, as most postal event covers have, this one is hand-typed. And it's unique, and it is that uniqueness that drew my attention to it and led me to purchase this particular cover. And I'm glad I did, because it's got an interesting story. But anyways, there are 7 typed lines which read, with compliments of Reverend Father Bernard R. Hubbard, S.J., the Glacier priest, commemorating visit to and lecture at Iron Mountain, Michigan on Friday, May 1st, 1942. And a nice bold autograph there. Now, I was intrigued by his title, the Glacier priest, and figured there had to be an interesting backstory, and indeed there was. So, once again, a simple postal cover sent me off on what was a fascinating voyage of discovery, and I hope you'll enjoy this also. It turns out that Bernard, his middle name, Rosecrans Hubbard, was an American geologist and explorer who popularized the Alaskan wilderness in the American media during the middle of the 20th century. He was a Jesuit priest and head of the Department of Geology at the University of Santa Clara in California. So he's much more than just a priest. He was hot on the lecture circuit for a long while, and was at the height of his career, was the highest paid lecturer in the world. His adventures in leading 31 expeditions into Alaska and the Arctic were fodder for the masses who craved a sense of excitement during those horrible years of the Great Depression, and then the Great War, which was already in full swing by 1942. And then after, for those who even for a brief few hours wished to escape, as I said, the nightmare of World War II. Father Hubbard, no relation to old Mother Hubbard. Stupid joke, had to put it in there. Anyways, he entered into the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, on September 7th, 1908, and he also studied theology at Innsbruck, Austria. And actually, this is where, in 1923, he was ordained as a priest. And it was also here that he became obsessed with the beauty of the mountains. And that's where he first became known as the Glacier priest. Now, Bernard Hubbard began to take regular expeditions to Alaska during the summer, and then touring as a lecturer during the winter months. And remarkably, for 1937, he was receiving up to $2,000 per lecture. In 1937, I should have looked that up to see what that would be in today's currency, but it would be a lot. Not as much as Bill and Hillary get, but it would be a lot. He actually donated the proceeds of his lectures, though, to the Jesuit missions in Alaska. Now, his first expedition took him to the Juneau ice field, and then in 1929 he visited the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, which flamed his interest in volcanology. However, 1930 saw him undertake his first significant expedition to the then largely unknown volcanic crater at Mount Aniakchak, Aniakchak, I think, returning in 1931. But a fortunate coincidence there had been made. There was a moderate eruption of the volcano only weeks before Hubbard and his party arrived in May 1931. So he also explored, anyways, the upper reaches of the Takao Glacier and made a crossing at the Bering Straits by canoe. The 1931 expedition also took him down the Yukon River, where he visited missions along the way. And talk about thrilling adventures. He started in winter from Nenana with a 13-dog sled ending at Nulato. From there, he went on to Unalakleet, then on to the Holy Cross Mission on the Yukon by April of 1931. There had to be some wonderful adventures there. And then from Holy Cross, he went on to the Alaska Peninsula in the float plane, the first plane ride of his life, and the first flight along the Bering coast. Now, Hubbard and his flight crew flew directly across the peninsula at Aniakchak, whilst viewing the aftermath of the May 1937 eruption, and nearly crashing in the process. But the Lord watches over his own, and he had many plans yet for the Glacier Priest. So Father Hubbard then joined three college students who had brought the expedition gear to the Kujuklik Bay on June 12th. And they climbed to the entrance of the crater, encountering and killing bears as they went along. And for 33 days, they explored that still active crater. That would have been kind of a frightening thought, I would think, but I'm sure he went there fearlessly. He was a man with great spirit for adventure and excitement, and on the 1932 expedition, he and his pilot Frank Dorbrandt made the first successful landing on a lake in a volcano, with the landing on Surprise Lake in the Aniakchak crater. Father Hubbard produced prolific photographic and movie documentation of his expeditions. For example, he recorded his record of King's Islander life, totaled 11,000 still images and over 40,000 feet of movie film. He has been described as having been a riveting lecturer and ahead of his time in producing multimedia presentations, which included the still pictures and movie films and his own dramatic narration. So I am sure those at Iron Mountain got more than their money's worth on that night that he lectured there. Now, Hubbard had a number of books published, with his writing style having been compared to that of Jack London, another man of great adventurous spirit in the North. But during and after World War II, Hubbard advised the U.S. military on matters relating to Alaska, as well as lecturing and ministering to military personnel. And so ends another adventure for me, and hopefully for you, thanks to a simple used envelope or postal cover, as we collectors know them. So thanks for watching. I love you all, and God bless.